What's up YouTube, this is iTweaks here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a comparison of the iPad Air versus the iPad 3. We're going to be going through some performance results using Geekbench, as well as the overall design and build of the iPad 3 compared to the new iPad Air. So first let's go ahead and start with the Geekbench application so we can run a benchmark on the processor. So you can see here, if I open up the app switcher, we don't have any applications running in the background on either devices. So let's go ahead and open this up. And you can see right off the bat that it opens up quicker on the iPad Air. Now you can see here on the iPad 3 we have 7.0.3 as well as on the iPad Air, and the processor is an A5X running at 1 GHz on the iPad 3 versus the A7 chip at 1.39 GHz. So let's go ahead and run the processor benchmark. And let's skip ahead about 32 seconds, and you can see here that the iPad Air is completely done with a single core score of 1482 and a multi-core score of 2699. And if you look at the progress bar on the iPad 3, we still have quite a ways to go, so let's go ahead and skip ahead about to the 2-minute and 30-second mark. And you can see the benchmark score right there of the iPad 3 at 262 for the single core and 495 for the multi-core. So it's completely obliterated by the iPad Air. I mean, that isn't even close. We got 7 times the amount of processing power in the iPad Air compared to the iPad 3. And when we have a jump in performance like that, you're even going to be seeing some differences in speed when opening up stock applications. So you can see here, if I even open up the settings application, you can see there's even a little bit of a lag there on the iPad 3 compared to the iPad Air. And let's open up another application. Let's go with the clock app. So if we open that up, a little bit quicker on the iPad Air. And if we open up the camera app here, you can see that it's going to focus in a little quicker on the iPad Air than the iPad 3, which is to be expected because, I mean, those benchmark scores were pretty insane. Not much of a difference there when opening up the app switcher. Let's go ahead and close these out. No noticeable lag or anything like that. And let's get into some browsing. So let's open up the Safari, and we both have Yahoo on both of these iPads, so let's open that up and see which one of these loads up any quicker, if any. Alright, so a little bit quicker on the iPad Air, not really that too big of a difference. So let's scroll through here, see if we get any type of lagging. No lagging or anything like that. And let me just mention that I have been using my iPad 3 for a long time, and I really never had any type of issues with it, but the iPad Air is definitely much quicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to another website here. We're going to go to iPhoneHacks.com right here, and I'll just tap on it on my iPad 3. And what I'm going to do here is go into one of the articles, and we're going to pinch and zoom out and see if we get any type of checkerboard or anything like that. The article loaded up a little bit quicker on the iPad Air, so you can see here if I'm pinching and zooming in, zooming out, no real difference there when pinching and zooming. But let's go ahead and close out of that, and let's start to take a look at the actual iPads themselves. You can see here on the iPad 3 that we have that one speaker, but on the iPad Air we have 2 stereo speakers, so you're going to get a whole lot better sound quality. Of course, you have that 30-pin connector on the iPad 3 compared to the Lightning connector on the iPad Air. Now, we had this on the iPhone 5 as well as the 5S and the iPad 4, but definitely a huge upgrade from that connector on the iPad 3. Now, we see here on the side we have a different color of the mute switch compared to the iPad 3, as well as the 2 separate volume rocker buttons compared to the 1-bar volume rocker on the iPad 3. Now, this is the iPad 3 LTE version, so you're going to see that black band up there at the top where the mic is on the iPad 3. You'll also notice the power button up there in the top left-hand corner is different colors. And you'll see on the back here that we have a secondary mic on the iPad Air, so you're going to get better sound quality when recording or having those FaceTime calls. And you'll see here, nothing much has changed for the headphone jack, just a black insert for both of the devices. Again, like I said, this is the LTE version, so you're going to get that SIM tray right there on the iPad 3. Now, here's just a shot of the back of the iPads. You can see the space gray iPad Air on the left versus the black iPad 3 right there on the right. Now, you see here, if you compare the thickness, I mean, putting that iPad 3 on top of that iPad Air, it just swallows it. You can definitely tell there's a thickness difference when holding both of these. Looking at the camera, they both have a 5-megapixel camera right there on the back. Nothing much has changed there. Now, there is a difference on the front-facing camera. On the iPad Air, you get a 1.2 megapixel camera for those FaceTime calls. So for my final thoughts, should you upgrade? Well, that totally depends on what you use your iPad for. If you use it for very graphically demanding games or really resource demanding applications, then maybe making that jump to the iPad Air would be a good move. If you just use it for browsing an email and watching the occasional YouTube video, maybe not. It's definitely much easier to hold that iPad Air in one hand for extended lengths of time, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So I'm curious to know what iDevices you guys have. Let me know in the comments below, whether it's an iPhone, iPod, iPad, Mac, or Apple TV, or whatever you have, let me know in the comments below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button. If you want to see more of my videos, then go ahead and subscribe. Also, don't forget to like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter for updates. And if you haven't checked out my gaming channel, go over there and stop by and say hey. Alright guys, until next time, peace.